water wheel was mostly used to power the millstones for grinding flour. However, it could also be used to drive other machinery through a system of belts. Some of these can be seen around the Alton Watermill. Downstairs there is a roller mill. During usual milling, known as low milling, grain is only ground once by the millstones. This makes wholemeal flour. If you want white flour, it has to be done as high milling. The wholemeal flour is sieved and re-milled using a roller mill to get rid of the bran and germ. Upstairs there are several other machines. The green coloured machine is a cattle cake breaker. The black coloured machine is an oat roller. The cattle cake breaker and oat roller were both used for crushing grains, rather than grinding them into meal. Meal is much finer than crushed grains. These machines were used for producing animal feed. By the early 20th century, the Alton Watermill mostly produced animal feed for local farmers. Upstairs, there is also a stone grinder. The stone grinder was used for sharpening tools. The miller would have needed to keep his millstone dressing tools sharp. Millstone dressing is where grooves are cut into millstones and the edges of the stones are sharpened. In the Museum of East Anglian Life collection, we have some mill bills. These are like chisels and were used to chip away at the stone. A thrift was used to hold the bill. We also have a millstone level, which was used to mark places on the millstone which needed levelling during dressing. This was coated with soot and run over the stone. The soot would show which parts were raised. On the ceiling in front of the crown wheel is a mixing system of wooden boxes. These would have held grains such as rolled oats, rolled barley and linseed cake from the grain bins on the top floor. The miller would have been able to control which proportions of grain were mixed together, usually to make animal feed. They would fall into a long box called an auger to be put into sacks. Other milling equipment is also exhibited in the Alton Watermill. There are two sets of scales for weighing sacks. Farmers would bring grain in sacks and the miller would charge money based on the weight of the sack.
George Blackmore's son remembers that they would charge a shilling for a sack of corn and around 9 or 10 pence for oats, depending on how dirty they were. Dirtier oats would take more time as they needed cleaning. Sacks would have been very heavy. Sacks of oats weighed about 12 stone, while a sack of wheat or barley would have been about 15 stone.
On the wall by the millstones is a bag tally. This is labelled with the days of the month and would have been marked by the miller to show how many sacks had been ground that day. Next to the tally is a twine bobbin, which would be rotated to open the old timber sluice gate.
In Alton Watermill we have a hand quern stone, which are two pieces of stone that you turn with a handle to grind corn. We put it down there to demonstrate how the millstones work, and so children or older people, anybody could have a go at grinding wheat and getting the idea of how grindstones actually work. Lots of people learn better from hands-on experience, actually doing it and seeing the processes for themselves. It's just a really good way of showing exactly how the process works and how wheat changes into flour.